Hi there. I thought y'all might want a video, a resource that would explain the order of the books, that would let you know which series there are. There's the adventure series, there's the books about the dolls, there's what comes first, or what order should I read them in. So I hope this will help you as kind of a guide, where to start on your journey, and maybe in your collecting, and just to kind of give you an overview of what I've produced. I have produced 17 titles. Now, one of those titles was a mouse making guide, and I have put that on hold. I no longer offer it in my Etsy store. Now, you can still get it on Amazon and other booksellers, but it was created when, at the very beginning, when I created a mouse making kit to go with it. Well, I no longer make that kit, and the mouse has evolved through the years in different materials and things. So I'm in the process of tweaking that, and that will be made available at a later date. But I just want you to know, when it says 17 titles, that one of those titles was the mouse making guide. So what I'm going to share with you today is I'm going to start with the series, the Eliza the Mouse series. The first 4 books in the series are paperback. This is the first one. Eliza tells how she came to be. The second book in the series is where she receives the cottage door. The third in the series, she finds out she has a cousin. The fourth in the series is celebrating the royal wedding. And it links to, it really is, this is the prequel and this is the sequel. They kind of go together, if that helps you when you're deciding. The 5th book came when we actually moved to Rosewater Cottage, and this is the 5th book in the Eliza the Mouse series that tells about the move from the country, her being a country mouse, having to move to the city, and how does she become a city mouse. And Grammy says, you may be a cottage mouse. And so that tells the story of our move here to our home here. The next series is the seasons. And those are rhyming tales. And the first one I created was Pick a Pumpkin. And it's rhyming, and it's just a very sweet little book. Boys love this too. I've had a lot of people say, well, I have boys. Which ones are good for boys? Our grandson, this was his favorite when he was real little. And it's just a sing-songy rhyme that's real sweet. So that's for fall. Here We Go A Gathering is the rhyming tale for winter, Christmas season. It's not commercial Christmas. It's very much of the greenery and traditional things associated with Christmas, not so much the commercial. Goat's Milk and Gardening is the book for spring, and she learns to grow peas. I collaborated with a 1st and 2nd grade classroom in Orlando, Florida, and they were growing peas, 2 different kinds of peas, so she learns the difference in those and about gardening. The 4th in the series, we ventured out and created a hardcover book for the book for summer, Eliza Meets Ella Grace Louise. And so this is also a rhyming book, but it's for the season that is summer. So that's the series for the seasons, and they are rhyming tales. Then I had some extras. This was about Eliza, but it was kind of an added thing. It was a bedtime story. Eliza Will Not Be Afraid. I was dealing with a grandchild that was having terrible dreams and bad dreams, and thinking about, are there monsters, are there ghosts? I remember when I was a child and I was always afraid. I grew up in Florida. Are there alligators under the bed? And I would never hang my feet over the side of the bed. And so this came as a result of him having bad dreams. So it's just kind of a soothing thing. It has some scriptures, verses in it, Psalms and Proverbs, that just are very soothing and comforting to children and to adults as well. I have to say, I have a lot of adult grown-ups that use this as a resource. So that's an extra. And then I have the Fox Family of Franklin, because we live here in Franklin, Tennessee, and when we had first moved here, there were we would see litters of foxes that were downtown on Fair Street. And so it was it was pulling in these characters, kind of a whimsical tale of our storybook town, and where they venture down Main Street and the things that they see and the festivals. And it's a real sweet little short little book. And it's the only book that does not have a mouse, let's just say. So that is the Fox Family of Franklin. Then we have the Adventure series, and that's when we took a trip to Martha's Vineyard in 2013. The mouse, actually, Eliza did go with me in my little basket purse. She traveled there and saw everything through Grammy's Nantucket basket purse. There's where she was peeking out so you can see. This is a great little book. Just the size of it is great for those of you that are, you get invited to a baby shower and they want you to bring a book. This is a great book because it's gender neutral, even with the pink. I've had all kinds of little boys in kindergarten, when you read it to them, they love it. They don't care that it's pink. And it has, there's sailing ships and lighthouses, and she takes a ride on an airplane. And so it's a great little book for toddlers, even up to first and second graders. They're so proud that they can read, and they can read it on their own. But it's has the little ribbon bookmark, so they can, it's a little bit longer book, so they can mark their place and read a little bit at a time. But it's also great for the little ones to tuck it under their arm and carry it around with them, and the pages are very sturdy. This was produced by an indie publisher on Martha's Vineyard, and she has since retired, that publisher has. But that's a great little book. It has great end papers. I created the quilt there using the elements from the other stories. They're illustrated in there within the Grammy's flower, or the flower garden quilt, Grandma's flower garden. Anyway, that quilt. So that's what it was taken after. So that's the first in the Adventure series, where she goes off and she's in a plane, and how do we get there? And this is the teacher in me, that everything was a field trip. How do you get there, and what's the weather like, and what are you going to see? The second in the Adventure series was, we went to New York City, traveled there, and went to the Nutcracker Ballet. So this is very much around Christmas season. She sits in Santa's white gloved hand and whispers in his ear and tells all of her dreams and her wishes. So it's a very great little book to have to gift at Christmas time. This is great for summer, because we did travel in summer. This is the Adventure for spring, and we traveled to Texas and to Rachel Ashwell's bed and breakfast there, and the Prairie. It was called The Prairie by Rachel Ashwell. So some people were confused. Well, is the book by her? Her B&B was called The Prairie by Rachel Ashwell. So it was the visit there. It's all things Texas. There's a big map in there. There's cows and bluebonnets and all things shabby and chic. So it's a very sweet book for spring. Just very, very sweet for an adventure there. And again, it's packed full. It's 70 pages. So there's lots of good stuff in there. And these three, it really, I started branching out more into what children experience, anxieties and things of going to a new place, or what is it going to be like to go there? I've never flown on a plane, or what will I see? And will I be accepted because I'm going somewhere new? And that anxiety of, will I fit in? So as I've progressed with my writing, there's been a little bit more depth to the stories, so I hope you find that appealing as you look to purchase the books. Then the introduction to me of the Blythe dolls. There's a whole movement with Blythe dolls, and there was a midi-sized doll that I acquired, and then there was a full-size doll that I acquired. And this book came as a result of our granddaughter when she was learning to read and had her sight words, but she was struggling with other words and reading fluently. So we created a story around her sight words for kindergarten. So this says book 1. It is the first book in a series that is really geared towards the early reader, the kindergartner, first grader that is they're wanting to read it by themselves. And it has a lot of their sight words, but it also introduces a few challenging words, so they might want to sit with you and you help them through it and then sound out a word, or you help them as they're sounding it out. But it's very much on their level, even pre-K, kindergarten, because when they're playing hide and seek and they don't know how to count to 10, and there's that little window of time where they're just it's on that level of early childhood. But then as they're learning to read, they like it because they can relate to still those things that they enjoyed and that level of play and dialogue. So that's a very sweet little book, and it's rhyming because they love rhyming. Most children love rhyming. One of my children did not like rhyming books at all, and he didn't like the coloring. And it's like, can we move on to first grade? I'm just tired of these. But in general, most children will enjoy a rhyming tale. So that's rhyming. Well, then the next book came along with Lula Kate. Lula Kate meets Eliza, and these two become fast friends, the little mouse and Lula Kate, who carries her around tucked up under her arm or in her little bag, her little case. So this tells about these dolls, and I'll show you what they look like when they come from Takara, the factory in Japan, or sometimes you find them on eBay. They're not the customized dolls. This is how they begin, and then it's the journey of the dolls that do find their way to an artist in other countries. So it's introducing language, Japanese and Italian, and then it shows her transformation. She gets new hair, she gets new watercolor eye chips, she has movable joints and hands and new clothes, and her cheeks are blushed and painted, and she's a very old-fashioned doll from the transformation is great, what she becomes, and comes to live at Grammy's house, and what she finds here in Tennessee and living in our home, and she meets the neighbors that are the bears. Some of you that are following along with my Instagram or Facebook, you see a lot of stories with Really Old Bear. She's introduced in this book. Baby Doll Bear is introduced in this book. So this is, I really am tickled with this. And with, I know what I was going to tell you. In these latest books, I have started adding a list of all the books. So with each new book that comes out, this being the latest book, that would have the latest updated list of the books. And they are pretty much in order of like the series, the Eliza the Mouse series, and then the seasons. And so it kind of gives you a guide of the order of things. So I'm hoping that will help. I've had someone also ask, I've had a few people ask, if you buy the whole set, is there a discount? Well, absolutely. And I will, I need to get a listing created, but if you were to message me, I could give you a price of what that discounted price will be. I've had people ask, well, can I order the whole set? I've looked on Amazon and it doesn't have an option to order all of them together as a set. So that is something that I will be creating a specific listing on my Etsy shop that you can just find, and if you search in Etsy Christy Jones Ray, then you'll find my Etsy shop, and I will offer that. But if you're not looking there and you just want to message me and find out, I can give you a price until that listing shows up. So I hope I appreciate those of you who send questions. Who I don't want you to ever think that it's bothering me. It helps me kind of fine tune. Sometimes I don't think about that would be a question, or that I think I've covered it and then maybe I haven't sufficiently. So I welcome your input, and I appreciate you following along and your patience in this journey as I'm learning as I go along. And I'm so tickled with my clock ticking again. So that's featured in the very first book, Grammy's TikTok clock. I'll just show you that real quick, because it was when I made the mouse, and then she would sit as I would knit. She would hear the clicking of my knitting needles and the tick-tock of the clock. And so that's the clock. They're all true stories, with a little bit of whimsy, just a little bit. But I hope you'll have a good rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I hope this helps and you can share this with your friends. That's my hope. So have a great day. Go be brave and love well. Blessings.